Hello, duckies and dice fiends. Welcome on in. It is the Chaotic Wholesome presents Table Talk Show. I'm Kay. I'm one of your co-hosts, and I'm here with David, who's having a day, but is here and awesome. So, hey, David, who the heck is you? And what is we doing here?
Hi, I am the Lord of all that is terrible and petty in 2024, and this is the Chaotic Wholesome Presents Tuesday Table Talk Show, name patent pending, and harbinger of all things good for the good people and bad for the bad people in 2024.
I like that. I like that a lot. So it seems like the auto greet is still not working for you, so I'm gonna have to go and fight that battle again.
Oh,
but
is that a streamer bot thing?
It's StreamerBot plus OBS, and I'm pretty sure it's OBS that's being grumpy, but I'm
Okay,
unsure. Y'all,
nothing I can fix on the fly.
yeah, no. This is gonna take me some figuring out because it should be working. So, David, let's get the petty ball rolling in 2024. Petty vibes only, says Mimics and Misfits.
Yeah, fair.
But welcome. So today, and I'm excited that we do have Matt hanging out in chat because Matt is one of the people who is going to be able to offer us some good info. We were debating what's going to be our first show of the year. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to cover? Hello, Candace. Welcome on in. And one of the things we wanted to make sure we talked about as we were seeing, we did a shoot your shot. What do you want to do? Manifest your 2024 whatevers. A whole lot of people really wanted to either land their first actual player podcast appearance in the TTRPG space or wanted to do more. I'm obviously one of the people who wants to do more because I have a problem, and these are just choices, and I can quit anytime I want. No, I can't. So we wanted to chit chat with you all, and we've got some amazing people, including Matt and Candace in chat, who both run APs and have been in multiple APs. And we want to talk about, what do you do? How do you land it? How do you get started? And how do you get into the APs that you really want to be in?
Now, I have a very specific take on this, and really it's all encompassing and it applies to everyone. And I am furious that the whole TTRPG space as a whole has not adopted this, but you should not even distantly begin to think about doing an AP or even showing up, even applying, unless you have 2 masters in Shakespeare. If you don't have two, if you didn't go to a theater school for theater and then leave that and then spend a lot more money on a Shakespeare master's program, because that is obviously one of the most useful programs you could have, and then walk away from that and then double down and do it again for, again, Shakespeare, but a different focus, then you got no business playing TTRPGs. Like, just get out.
Also, shout out to Katiosaurus.
Right. who was kind enough to donate their time to our very successful charity game, and I am eternally grateful both to Katiosaurus and everybody else who performed, and everyone else who was, including Candace, and everybody else who was involved, and all of the people who showed up to make it a success.
It was a wonderful time, and thank you all for promoting, for chatting, for watching, for laughing with us. That was a great way to start my little holiday, and was maybe the highlight of my holiday.
Yeah, I mean, you had some times.
Hey, Ribbonanza. So how do you get started other than getting a double master's in Shakespeare? Well, one of the first things, a lot of people, and I had this question pretty deeply into my time of, like, do I need a demo reel? Do I need a website? How do I prove to people that I'm good enough to be on their game? And this can be especially challenging if you haven't played a lot online. So here's what I'm going to say first. If you want to be on an AP or podcast, especially if it's a podcast. Get a decent microphone. The built-in microphone that comes with your MacBook is not a decent microphone.
If you have a laptop and there's a microphone on it, it's not good. It's not good.
No. People are always like, what do I need? You need a decent webcam, right? And just honestly, while it's not ideal, you can do an AP with your default webcam that's built into your laptop. Oh, your little webcam microphone is sad now. But your audio does need to be good, especially if you've got one of those really terrible mics that has a tinny sound to it or a ringing, or just if you really want to do it. And especially if you're doing podcasts, because audio only formats, audio is so important. And I'm not saying you have to go out and invest hundreds of dollars, but make sure you have a decent microphone. Look up, there are bargain options that you can find. There are always sales of some sort going on. Find something that's just a little bit better, that sounds good, that makes your voice sound good, especially again if you're doing audio only format, because my voice, I can tolerate it through some microphones, and through some microphones I'm like, I can't listen to me.
I mean, I can't listen to me either way, but you know.
After that, if you're doing an AP, invest in lighting. And it doesn't have to be a lot. My lighting, I've got a 3-point lighting system, and it cost me maybe $120 total. We're trying.
Yep. Well, how is the music level? We ran some tests before, but ultimately, like, you listening to it at home is
Yes, talking about some intense topics. So yes, honestly, your webcam, so long as your webcam works and doesn't randomly turn like black and white, music level is a little high.
That's an easy fix.
He's so high. Hey, Rex.
What about meow?
So yes, as you can see from chat, audio is very important. So make sure that your audio is really good. After that, lights, and then after that, microphones. Or after that, then worry about upgrading your webcam. Don't upgrade your webcam unless your webcam is like breaking. If your webcam is breaking, replace your webcam. But unless your webcam is breaking, do your lights first, because your webcam image is only going to look as good as your lighting allows. I got a decent mic and it made a tremendous difference for me that I can dial in my voice, says Rex. Yes, it makes a really big difference. And also, I will say there are, this very much depends on the table, the game, the setting. There are actual play groups that do not require you to be on camera. If that is the case, make sure you have a nice something to represent yourself. Be it if you don't want to use a photo, because honestly, if you're not on camera, it's probably because you don't want to show your face, and that's valid in this day and age. So make sure you've got like a nice avatar art or just something that can represent you. So again, webcam.
I should run a game that's all VTubers. Just go out on the internet and be like, "Hey, VTubers, let's get in here." Where it's like, yeah. Anyway,
my brother plays on a Grand Theft Auto RP server, and the VTubers love it. I just broke David's brain.
Just everything I hear about your brother, just I'm not gonna slander your brother in public online on something that will be published to YouTube. I will leave it at that. So I think we should go back like a little bit further.
Okay.
If you want to do an AP in 2024, the first thing you should ask yourself is, do you actually want to do it? And I say that because there is a level of commitment to APs. And, you know, there's a fundamental difference between people who are professionals who have real life and like like things come up, scheduling things can't be removed. Like we've had multiple like weddings happen during things that we've planned, and that's fine. Um, but we're fortunate that we haven't had that happen. But like I've seen and talked to people, I've seen channels and I've talked to people where um, people have gone, oh man, I want to be in this thing, and then like they can't make the zero session, and then they can't make episode
Mhm.
3, and then they can't make episode 5, and oh, can we bump episode 6 up like a half an hour because I have a hard out like right as and it's like not just a like scheduling and logistics thing, like
It's just
if
clearly the thing on their priority list that gets moved for
right.
everything else.
Right. And like if you live in Tornado Alley in Kansas, don't plan an AP during tornado season. Um if you live in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, maybe bow out. Like maybe like listen, you can hear the zombies scratching at my door and that's really going to fuck up my audio quality. And then also like there is an intimidation factor as well. Like Kay and I both have been doing this for a while, and there are still people that reach out to us and want to work with us. And I'm like, wait, they want to do it? There's still times where people come and show up for a thing and sit down at a table, and I'm like, how did we do this? Like, why does this person know who I am at all? Um, and again, like, and another like really important part of it is, are you definitely going to like bring yourself and bring like a real performance to the thing? Because like Kay and I have talked about on this channel before, an AP, an actual play, like a game that you run on camera for an audience, is a different animal than a home game.
It is very much a performance, and you have to be there and put on that performance, even on the days when you're not feeling the game as much. And again, mental health, there are reasons to bow out, but like, if, and let me be very clear, there are people who have, I was planning on diving into this later in the chat about like, here's some other things to keep in mind, but there are people who are parents and their schedules get disrupted by kids. There are people who have mental illnesses or neurodivergence or chronic pain that makes it very, very difficult for them to appear on a regular schedule at a regular time. And that can and will impact your ability to get long term games. That doesn't mean these people are not incredible performers and are not worth working with. It just probably means you probably need to work with them for, if you're a person who you cannot consistently keep a schedule because of things, probably focus on pre-recorded APs, podcasts, things that are recorded first and then edited later, because you have a little bit more leeway there where if something does arise, they don't have to decide, are we pulling the plug on this entire game or are we running it without you? Because both of those feel really, really bad.
Yeah. And even beyond that, because like whatever obstacles you have to playing, if you want to play, you will find a way around them. And that may mean, like Kay said, like doing something recorded. It may mean doing a podcast. It may mean only doing one shots. There are plenty of people in the industry where it's like, I got 3 hours on a Sunday, 6 months from now. That's it. And
Yep.
and people make it work. But there are people who see it and go, oh man, I want to do that, but they don't realize like the performance component of it. They don't realize the preparation component of it.
Mm-hmm.
And while there are people who can like 10 minutes before the game starts, pull a character out of their ass and throw something together and be really good, that's maybe like 5 people in the industry. And that's also because they have so much experience doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you sit and watch somebody do that, 99% of the time they're just playing a character that they've played before and they're getting back into those shoes. They're not reimagining they're not imagining an entire character on the fly.
Right.
And so it's like the like actual performance of it, because there are plenty of people who love to play D&D, um, but don't necessarily like love to perform.
Hmm.
And I've seen actually in person, like at a shop, talking to someone about it, and they're like, "Oh, that's great, but what do you mean they record it and like post it on the internet after? I thought it was just I show up and we do the thing and then it's done." And it's like,
Hmm.
well, no, that goes on our YouTube because we got fans that watch it after that can't make, you know, 2 p.m. on a Wednesday,
Yeah.
and instead will watch it over dinner the next night. Um, and so like be ready to experience and address and embrace the hearing your own voice, sitting in front of a camera if that's a avenue you want to take, because not everybody does the camera thing. Um, having your stuff, having your likeness recorded, bringing an energy to your performance rather than just sitting like you're playing at home. Like all of that should factor in to your decision of I want to get started, I want to do this, I want to be here for this.
And another big factor to consider, especially when you're very first starting out, because David has heard some of my horror stories. Be ready to play with people that you are not familiar with and that you might not enjoy.
Yeah,
And it
every
sucks and it's terrible. But every so often you find a Candace.
right. Every performer I respect has sat at a table with someone they didn't really get along with. And that doesn't mean that that other person was bad. It doesn't mean that like they were terrible or anything like that. Like, if you sit at a table with Katie Osaurus and you're like, you know what, I don't think Shakespeare was all that dope. Like, I think he's kind of sus. Like, you and Katie will come to blows over that. Like, you will be out on my front lawn punching it out. But that
Yeah.
doesn't like not liking Shakespeare doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a bad person. But and in addition to that, like, if you're in the community long enough, you will run into some drama, and sometimes you will be near that drama, and you'll be interacting with people who are victims of or perpetrators of that drama. And like, you go far enough back, like you go 2 years ago and watch some actual plays that people, and you go, wow, that person was sitting there at that table with that person, and these two, ooh, it was bad. This person was just a piece of shit, and this person was great, and this was a man and did man thing. I'm not here to slander all men, except I am here to slander. Did I really start 2024 this spicy?
You
Um,
did. You did.
but
So if you need a great example of that, go back and watch early episodes of Critical Role.
yeah, yeah.
Because if you don't know, for those of you who don't know the deep crit lore, there used to be an eighth player on Critical Role. There is not anymore. That's all I'm going to say.
Right. And I think what it's 2024 and men catch these hands. Listen, my hands are like a popular Nintendo game rated E for everyone, okay? But men to the front of the line. No, but going back and looking, what impresses me most is every performer that I respect, where I know that they sat at a table with someone they didn't like or with things that they didn't like that were happening, they still killed it. They still brought a great performance. They did not let those personal frictions prevent them from performing well. And it's okay to like look at a table and be like, I'm not going to do this. Hey, JD. Um, but once you're there and you're in the danger zone and you are in the octagon, you gotta perform. You gotta dance. Like if you're on the dance floor, you gotta dance. And they do a great job of that. Um, and it's really impressive and it's really heartening, because there have been times where Kay and I have had to do the same thing, both together and separately, where we've been like, I don't know about this person, but we're gonna do it, and then we got to bring our A game.
Hmm.
Um,
I
and
had, and I will name no names. I will point no fingers, but I had a game that was terrible. And it was a game where I was on someone else's channel It was for charity, which made it so much easier to tolerate. It was not the person, not the person who normally ran the game on the channel. It was a guest person to help pull this whole thing off. And the problem player was the GM. And it very quickly became clear to everyone at the table that this GM was going to be a problem. We were not going to have fun. And I went through, and if I tell you, it took everything in my power to not just be like, never mind. Everything in my power. I wanted so bad. And it's just like, it's for charity. It's for charity. Chill and stay put. It's for charity, right? We're good. We're fine. It's for charity. This is how you know Kay is done with you. This is how you know you got all the smoke. I thanked everyone for playing. I thanked the channel for having me on. The minute that stream ended, I left their Discord.
Woof.
Done. Because I committed. I'm going to do the thing. Again, it was an unfun GM. He was not being problematic in terms of racism, sexism, homophobia, was just not a fun person to play with. Disrespected everyone equally. And I was like, I'm not going to raise smoke. I'm not going to call anyone out. But if you cannot, if the producers running the game could not tell that this was not a person they didn't want back on their channel, I wasn't going to be the one to tell them. And I have my own games to go play.
Right.
And that leads into what my next point is, unless you had a spicy take to throw in there, David.
Nope.
So that's going to be the next thing I'm going to say is okay, I've got a webcam, I've got a mic, I've got some lights, or at least a window. How do I get there? I mean, there's open casting calls. Some of the EPP crew, I know Candace has seen me networking, Rex has seen me networking at PAX Unplugged. I don't know. I've been told I'm good at it. But honestly, the best way to get invited to games is to be known and to be easy to work with. Now, when I say easy to work with, I'm not saying don't call out problematic behavior. But I am saying, as David was saying before with scheduling, the game shouldn't be the first thing on your schedule that gets moved. You need to make sure, again, I always tell people, if you want to get into TTRPGs, I'm not that worried about how well you do or don't know the rules, because I can teach that. I need you to watch some APs and see how people interact around the table, especially if you're in a virtual space where it's more difficult to read body language. See how people play. Make sure that you're being a good player. Are you setting up other players to have scenes? Are you belittling or mocking or being disrespectful to other players, either subtly or behind the scenes or blatantly, when the other players aren't having fun with it? Are you, as Matt said, showing up on time? Are you responding in a timely manner? Are you talking complete and utter shit about everyone to everyone else behind their backs? People know when you do this. And again, I'm not talking about, I was at this table and someone so-and-so said something racist. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking. We know.
Look, I have spent so much time roasting the fashion choices of people on actual plays to K in private. And I want to emphasize that it's 99% jokes. Like, it's just me having a good time because my natural setting is to roast. Like you got your little convection oven thing. Mine is just, it's dialed to roast and then the dial is broken off. But
you all did not see the 9-hour Coral Island stream. I have a 10-minute incredibly cut down clip of David roasting every hairstyle in Coral Island, and I cannot wait to finish editing it and put it out. Continue.
Yeah, I did, and that was not planned. That just happened. So you can like what you do behind closed doors, what you do where people can't see, like, that's fine and dandy. But like, if you very carefully like take a fine tooth comb over my or Kay's Twitter posts over the past like 3 years, we like outside of me shit posting, the only thing I have to say into a hot mic, the only thing I have to say on a public forum, the only thing I have to say on a dying social media platform is um, positivity, encouragement, highlighting people that I think deserve to be highlighted, um, and basically trying to make the whole space a better place.
Mhm.
Um, because there are so many. Candace, don't even get me started about the hairstyles. Ooh, anyway, um, but like the world is a shitty place, and there's enough hostility and bad words and hurtfulness out in the world that I don't need to add to it. Could I? Of course, I'd be great at it. Same thing with Kay. Same thing with everyone we work with. Like, it. I think it really speaks positively of our brand as a whole that we have people on, and that you go back onto their like Twitter or like onto their streams, and they're not sitting there going, "Oh man!" And another thing, this person in like the bright pink tube top, that dude just terrible. And like, do you see how crooked his teeth are? Like, why? Why would you do that? Like why do you need to? And it makes people not want to work with you. And there's more than one creator that I personally have been like, oh man, I would love to do a thing with this person. They're kind of shitty on main. They're really kind of just every time I click on something, it's like, oh man, this is bringing me down, and I can't. Um,
Yeah.
and
And
and you'll find that, and everybody's like that. Every like unless somebody is interested in the exact type of smoke that you're putting out, everybody else is like, man, I don't know if I want to like if for no other reason than I don't want to be the subject of like this negativity.
because
I don't
that's the
want
thing,
6 months from now.
if they're talking about someone else, tomorrow they could be talking about you. And look, that kind of edgy personality, you can do it in video game streaming and get very popular with it, but that's so much less collaborative. It's very difficult to do that in this. I had a point and then I got so caught up in David's smoke that
Yeah.
I'm very uh but yes, uh be easy to work with in that you show up on time. You share the table. You are not just trash talking everyone. And again, when we say that, we're not talking about, hey, this person I had a really bad experience with. So take your own, your mileage may vary, but just so you know, this was my experience. We're not talking about that. That is something that, and if you don't know this, and again, this is part of why we're saying be on your best behavior, even behind the scenes, because those conversations are always being had, whether you know them or not. You might not think they're talking about you, but I promise someone is.
And like and what you say behind closed doors. Oh, I thought you're talking. Oh man, I was back in like 1997 for 1 second, and I was both very excited and very jealous. Um, but like what you say behind closed doors to other people in the community also matter. Like
Mhm.
there are personal things that I have shared with Kay, all of them embarrassing. But all of like the professional stuff, like whether like every conversation I've had with every person in the space, you could take a screenshot of it, put it on main, and the only thing that you'll really be able to walk away with is, wow, David's really nasty. Like just he should not be allowed in a room with a woman ever. Um, I mean, like even if like obviously we're assuming consent, because if you're not enthusiastically consenting, then why are you even there? but even then, like, just it's like the Game of Thrones with the bell, just like shame. There's just shame. But like that's all you can like glean from my stuff because guess what? I'm not the sort of person that goes out into these streets and like says stuff that is picking a fight with someone behind their back. And maybe because that's like of where and when I was raised, or maybe I don't know, I was taught not to be a shitty person.
Another thing of being easy to work with, and this actually when I was kind of brainstorming the outline, which we are so far off of this episode today, it was, do I need a green screen? Do I need a nice background? You don't. There are some people who have interesting rules about what you have to do to be on their APs. There are some people who require cosplay, and if you're into it, great. If you're not, don't do it. There's some that require green screens, or if you don't have a green screen, you have an NVIDIA card, set up NVIDIA Broadcast. It's a better green screen than most of you will get because green screens require specific green screen lighting, which can be a pain. And I'm not talking, we don't all have to be Candace. We don't all have to show up looking incredible to every AP.
And we don't all have 6 hours to do our hair. I wish I had 6 hours to do mine. But what Candace and Chelsea and them do, the magic, the wizardry,
But are you showing up to your AP in a dirty shirt with holes in it? Are you showing up? Like, I know I play games with several people who their bedroom is in the background. And we were sitting down to play one day, and one of them, and it was a guy, I'm going to say it, dude, this is mostly aimed at dudes. Not entirely. I have seen some lady types who show up looking haggard, who have crazy, messy, who have messy background, But by and large, lady types, femmes tend to at least, do a little bit of a glow up before they come on camera. Dude types less so. But I was playing, and it's a guy with a background, and his bed was in the background, and he turned around right before we started playing and popped up and was like, I haven't even made my bed, and like very quickly made the bed because he was like, I want to at least look professional-ish. It's obviously my bedroom, but at least my bed has to be made.
And I think that's a big performance. Part of it is like part of being easy to work with is showing up and caring.
Hey, Swords Adam, welcome.
And that means different things for different people. And like we've played people who have like very aggressive ADHD, someone who's autistic. So like they're not going to be looking at the camera. They're not going to seem super focused. Like they're going to be doing stuff with their hands. They're just going to be like, but that doesn't mean that they aren't dialed in. And they do things.
There's a reason we gave these out at PAX Unplugged. Right. Do you know how popular these fidget toys were?
And they do things that demonstrate that they care about what they're doing, their place in it. And it could be something as simple as like, I've gotten, like Kay and I have gotten like a group chat message on Discord at like 3:00 in the morning. And they're like, so in this game that we're going to play 3 months from now, I was thinking this, and this. Obviously don't get back to me because it's 4:00 in the morning, but I would like your opinion on these things. And then of course I'm awake. And so I'm like, this is what I think. But like do all the little things, like the broad stroke is care about what you are doing and demonstrate that you care about what you are doing. And like I've told Kay many times, like I'm not ready to go on the talk show because I have to go put on a clean shirt. Like,
and again, and I said this a different way before, but I'm going to say it again. A big part in the TTRPG space of caring about what you're doing is caring about what your fellow performers are doing. Care about the other characters in the party. Care about what's going on with the plot. Care about am I taking up all of the space? And look, a lot of people, if you're all, ooh, how can am I good at, you probably don't need to worry about that. So if you're already doing this about, am I good enough? Should I be? You probably don't need to worry about it, but
there are people out there who do.
Right.
Who do need to worry.
The thing I always say, and I was shocked. I don't, again, I wasn't a drama kid. The drama teacher hated me, so wouldn't let me go to drama. But I wanted to be a drama kid. And so I was shocked to find out how many people don't watch their performances back. All I did, especially early on, was watch recordings of what I did to see, like, am I speaking clearly? Am I watching it back really helped me because I realized, especially in certain situations, I was not verbalizing what the character was thinking well enough for the audience. It made sense to me in the moment, but I wasn't verbalizing it. And you become a better performer by watching yourself back. And it's torture and it's terrible and it's absolute hell. But do it early so that you can then be like, okay, I know I'm not hogging the spotlight, or I did hog the spotlight this session. I'm going to make sure to let someone else have extra time next session. So again, if you are only there for you, you are not easy to work with. And it doesn't, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna come back to this again in a moment, and then I'm gonna let you talk, David, I swear. In this space, it matters far less than you think it does that you personally are a great performer. You have to be a good performer or a decent performer, as well as a good collaborator. And there's another thing I'm going to talk about, but go, David. You had a thing to say.
There are many, and y'all have heard this from me before, and you probably do the same thing, where you're sitting at your computer, sometimes late at night, and you'll click on other people's streams, and sometimes David then spends the next like hour and a half roasting someone's overlay, but that is neither here nor there. But Kay and I both have watched games where someone was taking up all the space and did not know what was going on. And it's like, how could you be the center of attention and clueless at the same time? It's bananas. Like honestly, I'm impressed. It's well done. But and y'all have not seen me perform a lot, but I have played on actual plays, and Kay will be the first to tell you I'm extremely paranoid about my performance. I get done, and the first thing I do is I go, "Oh man, Kay, how was that? At this particular scene, I thought this was like a little much. Was it too like?" And I will corner Kay and anxiety all over them for like an hour, dissecting like what I did, how I could have approached things, how things I did might have been interpreted, and so on. And so the takeaway from that is this is all collaborative. This is like making a movie. Like, there's no one person who does like every part of the movie for the most part. There are examples of that. But like no Marvel film has been made by one person.
You are welcome.
And so, you have to, like, when you're performing with people, both your fellow players and your GM, like, collaborate with them to build a thing. Whether you're doing a zero session or you're in discussions about what you're going to do, collaborate with them. But then after, collaborate with people. Like, send out feelers. There are people that you see in chat who've watched your thing, and if you don't have any friends and you don't have anybody who's like watched your performance, like, yes, sit down and rewatch it yourself, but talk to reach out to the other players at the table and be like, hey, can I talk to you about my performance? Can I get some feedback? Same thing with your GM. A GM a good GM will always be willing to talk to their players about making the game better. And so you could reach out to your GM, you can reach out to fellow players, you could reach out to people that you know in the audience, but like make it collaborative. Make your personal improvement in terms of your performance a collaborative thing. Like, and like, don't be an asshole about it. Don't bully people. Don't chase down people who don't know you. Like, I'm not gonna call up Katiosaurus and be like, hey Katie, I DM'd you on Twitter and you didn't get back to me. I need to know if that picture for my profile is really good. I swear it's not a dick pic. It was a dick pic. Like I don't do that. But I'm also extremely lucky because I have a Kay, and I have a Ribonanza, and I have a Candace, and I have many, many wonderful people in the community where I can pull them to the side and be like, hey, can I pick your brain about this?
And so let's take, because we have gotten a little bit in the weeds. We didn't do like the smooth on ramp I was thinking of. So let's take a step back and say, okay, so you are new to APs. You've watched a lot. You've talked to your friends about it. Your friends think you'd be good at it. You are aware that it's a performance, but you haven't played on an AP, or you've played on very few. How do you get started? Well, first and foremost, and this is where, especially if you are the kind of person who definitely shouldn't be part of an AP, because again, there are tabletop players who love tabletop who would not be great on an AP. And Matt said this earlier, also take part in what's going on, be present, because again, APs aren't for everyone. Yes, send polite messages and cry with anxiety. I am excellent with that. Also, I just want to point out too, I also do the post-performance spiral and overthink, and often I have to have other people tell me, "Hey, you did fine. Shut up." Like, that is a normal thing. But how do you even get there? How do you even get started? The first thing, if you don't have, if you're just like, I am new and if you were like me, I live in small town Texas. We don't believe in D&D because it'll make you worship the devil.
The demons.
So I don't know anyone in my town who plays it. How do I get started doing this? Find a server, find a group, our server. I think our Discord server is pretty fun. I'm also biased. But if you find the place you really want to play, find people you really want to play with, and start being there. If you want to play on 12-sided stories, you better be in 12-sided stories Discord server. Follow them on Twitter. Follow the people performing on Twitter and interact with them. And let me be very clear. When I say interact with them, I don't mean be a pick me. Me. Oh, are you gonna, I'd love to play with you someday. Hey, hi person. Oh, hi, I love that post. If you ever want to play, that's not how you're gonna do it. Hang out in their streams, hang out in their Discord, reply to their things on Twitter. Give them feedback about a performance. Don't be a nitpick, right? But like, hey, you did this and it was really great. If you have a half of an artistic bone, or if in your body, or if you're really good at music and you want to build playlists, or if you want to build a Pinterest board. Also be careful if you have a skin tone like me and you're wanting to build a Pinterest board for someone who has a different skin tone. Just be careful. Start interacting with them. And then you become a known entity. If they do an open call, if this is anything you're interested in, if they do an open call for moderators for their channels, volunteer for that. Again, and I'm gonna dive into this a little bit more deeply, but just being a good performer is very rarely enough in this space.
Like any performance based art, or no, like any art, you don't come to it in a vacuum. Like, you are a fan first, so be a fan first. Like, if you watch the red carpet at the Oscars, every year there's some like big well-known like actor or actress who runs into someone and they're like, oh my god, but it's them. And it's like, someone paid you $17 million to be in a movie seen around the world last year, and you are absolutely melting because this person is standing there. Another good example is, I forget what movie it was, but Meryl Streep was on a movie fairly recently, and this is Meryl fucking Streep, like a goddamn legend. And she's like, yeah, everyone just kept calling me a goat, and it was really really upsetting. And I was like, fine, I guess I am an old goat. And it was like 3/4 away through production before somebody pulled her aside and was like, GOAT is an acronym. It stands for greatest of all time. Like, everyone here worships the ground that you walk on. And Meryl Streep was like, but why would they do that? And it's like, because you're Meryl Streep. Um,
Yes.
but like like whether it is actual plays or like artists or writers or whatever, like be a fan first,
Hmm.
like consume the medium first, like be a part of the positive fan base first, and then go from there. Because like anybody, if for no other reason than you just like learn the things, like learn the most basic things about it. Like
Yeah.
imagine someone who's never played D&D and is like, ah man, I'm a GM in actual play because I hear Critical Role is a thing. It's going to be a mess for a lot of reasons we can't even predict because we won't know how they will get it wrong.
And again, you don't have to be, I just want to be very clear. You do not have to be an expert on every system that you are applying for as a player. GM,
This is different.
a little bit
That's a
different. But
discussion.
as a player, again, one of my favorite scenes in Exandria Unlimited only happened because Amy Carrera, who had never played D&D before, saw a a magical item that was very clearly associated with Loth. Amy Carrera had no idea who Loth was. Everyone else at the table did, and was like, "Huh? Do you think it belongs to like a spider goddess?" And all the players are like, "You're not
You
supposed to
really
know
don't.
that.
Yeah.
You can't know that." And it's like it's a crown with spider webs on it, and you feel spiders crawling on you when you touch it. Of course, it's related to a spider god, but is play so. Um, yes. So Logar says we call this FaceTime in the biz. And again, if you are just known as a person who's fun to get along with, if you're known as a person who contributes to the space, you're going to be more likely to get the invite when they do, be it community games, be it a charity game, be it a one shot, be it whatever. Candace also says, be honest with yourself about what you do and do not bring to the table. Um, because I am very, how do I say that? I am aware of my performance level. And I'm aware that my performance level has improved because I have been lucky enough to play with some truly incredible performers who have challenged me and made me get better. I also know, like, I always joke that my dream is to run a table for a ton of forever GMs. And several of those forever GMs are no longer like forever GMs anymore. But like, I'm like, I would love to try to run a game for Matt Mercer, Abria, Gabe Hicks, Brennan Lee Mulligan, and Bronze Girl, only because I want to see how quickly and easily they burn my world down.
Yeah.
I could not
They
control
set
that.
fire to
I
it.
am so aware of how they would destroy everything. Like, so no, be realistic about what your performance level is, because if you've got a smaller experience level and you step onto the set of Critical Role, well, yes, you're going to do a great performance because that the rest of that cast is there and together and ready to lift you up. This is what they do professionally. But if you're just at a table with a bunch of other people who also don't really know how to lift you up, it's not going to feel good. Um, and again, I said this before. Hello, Adam So Wizard. I said this before. Oh, Logar, I wish I'd done any research. Yeah. I David knows this. I started building my homebrew world and ran my first one shot set in my homebrew world because I was too afraid that if I ran anything set in mainline D&D, I would get lore wrong and internet dudes
With
would be mean to
Dogpile.
me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was so afraid that I'm like, no, I'm doing my own world because I'm not going to risk messing this up. And you know what? One of my first streamed games with Team Liquid, Gabe Hicks was my GM, and I didn't know who Vecna was. And Gabe was so nice about it.
Yeah.
So again, be easy to work with and don't be mean to people.
Yeah, and there's no reason to be me. He was like, "Well, how dare you not know that?" It's an opportunity. Like no one can know everything, and it's an opportunity for you. Like everyone loves to geek out about stuff that they're into.
Yeah.
Like you ask me about like the deep Star Trek lore. For one, block out 6 hours of your time. Bring a lunch
At least.
because you're gonna be there for a while. Um, but like it's an opportunity to be like, oh man, I could share this cool thing with you, and that we could be in this cool space together, not browbeating somebody for not being there, not knowing exactly what you know. Like gross. Um, and um, the idea of FaceTime is is for one true. Like a lot of people, especially like in film and in music, are where they are because they were hanging out.
Mhm.
But um I make sure that I show up in spaces, not like overtly, but like just to like be there and be a fan. Like sometimes chat is dry, I won't be doing anything with my hands, and so I'll get in there and like type and whatnot. But
And that is so noticed and so appreciated.
but Kay and I have run things, and people have gotten into like the Discord call or the Zoom call. They've gotten on camera and they've gone, "Oh, you! I could finally put a face to the name." This has
Mhm.
happened more than once. Um, and like in the greater TTRPG community, like Kay is the face of Chaotic Wholesome Presents. That doesn't mean I don't exist, but like in most spaces, it's going to be Kay first, and then David might be along at some point. And yet, I'm still flesh warp. I'm still like a
No,
known.
it's flesh wrap. It's even worse. That's
Okay,
an
because
actual class in Pathfinder
okay, but
or Space Wolf.
WARP flesh warp is how it's
Oh,
spelled.
okay, good. Did I must have just dyslexiaed it.
That's fine. But also flesh warp. Um, but like it's reassuring to people. Flesh arp. Arp. Um, but it's reassuring to people that I work with, people that K invite and show up, and they're like, I know this person already. I've seen this person in the community, and they have said positive things. Is a lot more than like, oh man, you don't know who this guy is, but who been working with me for like a while is fine. And also like K's name goes a long way. And so if I'm like, hey, I work with K, they go, oh, you must be cool because you work with K. Um, and so like just being like it's like any other community, being known as a positive member, like being known as a person who doesn't suck and who isn't selfish and
Mhm.
who isn't obnoxious goes along with like being there are too many people who are CEOs and who are in like high positions in corporate America who got there because someone above them just liked them a lot. Doesn't mean that they're good at their job because they're not. They had stuff in common. They met each other on the golf course and they shook hands with each other, and now that person's a multimillionaire. Like, I'm hung flesh wrap supreme. I'd put my mouth on a flesh wrap supreme.
um, and that God, I had a thought, and then you had to say that, and
Yep.
I am 12. You can't do this to me.
Look,
I
I've been
used to
to
do
like
moderation for DeviantArt. Do you know where my brain goes when you?
when you go that crunchy flesh wrap. Yeah. I put my mouth on it. It'd be so good.
But
It's
yes,
really gonna
and
stretch my jaw, but I'll work out. I'll make it happen. Anyway, but
but it and do think about it. If you are casting for a TTRPG and you've got 8 people who apply, because a lot of people tell you if you do an open call, you often get surprisingly few. You're like, I need 6 people. You might only get 8 applicants. If you've got 6 spots, 8 people, and you personally know 4 of those people, you know they're safe. You know they're not gonna say the N word on your stream. You know they're not
yeah,
gonna go on a racist rant on your stream, right? Like, so FaceTime is real, and it is very important. Um, your thought, David, and then we're going to talk about what do you do if you haven't played on a stream yet.
So what I just said to Mimics and Misfits is like I've shown up to like both TTRPG and other type of professional events with K. And like literally the best strategy you can have with K is like stand nearby smile and nod and don't do anything to embarrass Kay, and you will go miles. Um, and
I
like,
shouldn't have let you talk.
right. And I don't want to say like, it's 100%. It's not what you know, it's who you know, because like there is a lot of like skill and talent in the space, but like no one does open calls first. No one. Absolutely no one. Everyone goes, all right, who we got? Oh man, so and so. I really love, and then you contact them, and we did this for the charity game, like months ago. Kay and I were like, hey Candace, what are you doing in December? Okay, cancel that. You're working with us. We don't care. Shut up. And we were like, Candace, what's your availability like? And Candace was like, well, I'm available these days. And we picked one of those days, and then the rest of the world had to revolve around that day. And we went to other people we know, and we went, hey, do you want to? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, can you do this day that Candace is available? And they were like, yeah. And they were there, and they were like, no, and they weren't. Like, we anchored our charity game around someone we knew and trusted, and it wasn't until we got maybe 4 slots filled where we were like, let's branch out a little bit and see if we can maybe like work with someone. And with stuff that we have coming out and with stuff that we've done, it's been a large part of like we either personally know this person or we like are deeply aware of this person in the space, and people that we've know have vouched for them, so let's invite them. No one does open calls first. No one goes, oh man, we're going to invite precisely no one that we know.
Some people do that first, and you can usually tell from the table chemistry that they did that first.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me amend. I would not recommend doing only an open tape, just posting on the internet. Anybody could get in here. Like reach out to some people in like personally first before you open the floodgates, because Lord knows who's going to show up.
Yes. Logar says, I'll tell you a secret from the actual entertainment biz side of things. A lot of open calls are bait.
Yeah.
But yes, and again, and I said this at the beginning of the stream, but I'm going to say it again. If you are trying to get in, if you don't have an established group yet, if you are not a known entity yet, be prepared to be at a lot of tables that are not the most fun. Be prepared to be with a lot of people whom you're like, that was fine. I dread, it is so bone deep in me now. Games where they're like, we're going to do like Roses and Thorns or Stars and Wishes after every session. Because so many games, especially early on that I was in, we got to it and they're like, what could be better? And it's like the only thing I could say, like the only thought that I have, like there's nothing concrete. It's like, I just wish everything was a little bit better. Like everything was fine. Like how do you tell someone it was great, I just wish the story was better, I wish your performance was, but like it's fine, and there's nothing I can in a Roses and Thorns, Wishes and Stars format say for you to improve other than just like get better. Yeah, everything was passable, everything was fine. I'm walking away just a little sad because it wasn't as fulfilling as it would have, could have, should have been. And you're going to get through those. And you're going to grow from them, and you're going to be a better performer from them. And then you're going to be in an AP with someone, and you're going to be like, this person is incredible. And then you got to get up the courage afterwards to do like with Candace, be like, hi, I really liked playing with you. Do you think you'd like to again? And hopefully you get someone as cool as Candace, and you end up doing a lot of stuff together, and you resonate.
Piggybacking on that, if you're getting started, and even if you're not getting started, you've played for a while, moderate your expectations and do your best to keep your expectations on yourself and not on others. Because like you said, like, not everything's going to be perfect, and not everybody's going to be, at Candace's level of performance, and that's okay.
Mhm. And not every
And
story you tell is going to be great, and not every story you tell is going to click and resonate with every player.
it'd be great if we had agency in the world story. Ooh,
Yeah. Oh, that's the
yeah.
worst. I
Um,
mean, I will say, and again, sorry, David, I know I'm interrupting you, but like again, Logar said you're going to be putting on some of those games, and you're going to be bad sometimes. David and I ran a thing that we ended up very, very proud of. I am so proud of what we did, and we've gone on to do bigger and better. But we ran the first session of a thing, and the performer that I was most excited to work with, end of the first session, asked, okay, so how are we supposed to play this game? Are we just supposed to follow your NPCs around? And I am traumatized to this day. Now, this performer and I, we're friends. We still get along. We still play games together. But every time I run anything like that now, I'm like,
like, by the way, this is how it's going to be right now. But hold on, hold. It's not going to be like this. Look, it'll be fine. Just stick it out for like just 5 minutes, and then we're good. Um, but a couple of things, like, because I've talked to people who were they're like, oh man, I only want to do like stuff with like the Matt Mercers and the Brennan Lee Mulligans of the world, and it's like, you know what? You go do
yeah.
that. You just go and walk up to them, and then instantly be there's no working up to that. Not whatsoever. Um, and um, and then also there have been times where things have been bad. Like I've clicked on an AP. I I I have taken a screenshot of an AP, sent it to Kay, and be like, "You better send this to Jason and get a professional's opinion on why this is bad, because this is a hot mess. But I don't have the words. I don't have the And in that same moment, in that same conversation, I went, "Oh man, so and so on this was great, and so on this was great, and like look at the art on listen, Kato, you ain't never late. You always here when you're supposed to be, okay? You're a wizard. Play a game with me." um but like one part of it cannot be great, but then other parts of it could be really like awesome and impressive. um Thank you, Cake Teas, for the resub.
And
Also
for those
thank
of
you.
you, yeah, thank you for saving me.
Yeah, thank you for saving Kay's life, because she
For
was
those
going
of
to
you
lose
who
her
don't,
toes.
for those of you who don't know, my balcony door, which has never locked before, locked me out on my balcony on New Year's Eve night morning, and Cake had to come and break and enter my apartment to save me. So thank you, Cake.
Um, and like there are like everybody who's a gamer loves a game that has flaws. Everybody
Mhm.
who loves film loves a film that has flaws. Like, just because one particular thing isn't like great doesn't mean that um you know the whole thing isn't good, the whole thing isn't enjoyable, and sometimes bad is what you're looking for.
Mhm.
Like if I watch a horror movie and it's good, I feel a little cheated.
Yeah.
Like, how dare
And
you?
honestly, um, there have been streams where I've watched and it's not a great stream and players aren't great, but one performer is awesome. And I have reached out to that performer and been like, you want to come, you want
Right?
to come play a game with
Right?
me? You want to, but we have to focus because we have to hit a couple key points, which we have not done yet. So if you have not played an AP on stream, David, other than befriending Kay, how do you get on an AP or a podcast if you don't have that?
Closed mouth never gets fed. um like the reality, the cold reality is apply and get rejected a lot.
Mhm.
um because there's also like this misnomer, like this old wives tale, that people who are popular don't have to apply. And also, um razor blade smile, that looks like some, that sounds like some napkin flavored nonsense. But
Low budget British bisexual vampires.
I am there for it. I'm 110% there for it. But um, but like, what's her name who won an Oscar, who was in the musical, Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway's like, I went a year and a half after I won that Oscar and couldn't find work. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like my agent and myself were beating down doors. And I was doing audition after audition after audition, and you won an Oscar. You won an Oscar and you had trouble finding work. Um, and like Kay and Candace and many, many, many other performers that I have a great deal of respect for, who are incredibly talented. Um, there are some big names in the community who I will not name that have gone, oh man, why can't I find a game? And it's like, because it's hard out here. And the answer is you just you got to go apply. You got to go
Yep.
knock on doors. Like that's the first step.
So how do I knock on a door if I don't have an AP clip to show people? Well, okay. So I get a lot of questions of, do I need a reel and do I need a website? The answer is both of those help. They are not necessary. I have used my reel exactly once. And that was a game that never actually happened. So there's that. Yeah, I apply to games. I don't always accept after I apply because sometimes you see what's behind the screen and you go, you know what? Good for someone else. But yes, get in the chat, start talking to people. If you are wanting to do an AP, then as we discussed before, you've got a webcam, you've got lighting, you've got a microphone. So just sit down and do some examples. What are the voices that you do? And then, as Candace was saying earlier, like be honest with yourself about what you do and what do you bring to the table. What kind of games are you good at, right? I will sit down and tell people like I am a very good collaborative improv performer. I lean into comedy, but also play characters who are more serious and have more depth than they first appear. And I'm very good at using my space. You've all seen me at least once today be like, cool, bye. And because I have a standing desk, I can interact with the space in the way that other people don't. What do you do that's cool and interesting? And look, I'm going to point at one particular demographic only because this is the demographic that I always hear it from. You are not getting invited to games because you are a straight white dude. Sorry. There are numerous straight white dudes who are on numerous podcasts and numerous APs and making a ton of money. And yes, while most of these casting calls are saying we will give priority, we want to focus on BIPOC, on women, on queer folk, you can still apply. And if you are good enough, you will get the seat. So yeah, and again, as Adam said, the appreciation post is really telling the folks you're going to collaborate with, don't be afraid to just, and this is how my gamer mom Luna, who does an incredible talk show, had Mark Meir on, because she posted, she said, you know what, we've done X number of episodes, I would really love to have Mark Meir on one day. And Mark Meir slides into her DMs and is like, are you free this day? I'll show up. So shoot your shot.
We invited Katiosaurus to a thing year before last, and there ended up being like scheduling conflicts. But Katiosaurus, like a week before, was like, "Oh man, I just don't get invited to things," and a lot of it is people are like, "Well, you're too big of a deal, so we can't invite you on." But and also like, and I've said this before on the talk show, straight white dudes, we need you here. We need your help. Nothing happens unless straight white dudes are on board. Because you go to the halls of power, whether it be corporations or the United States government or the legal system. It's a bunch of straight white guys. So we need you. And um, and I've also said repeatedly, we are not in the business of excluding you. If you are a straight white guy and you want to play like D&D, you have like actual plays. One, you could apply with us and many other people. And two, type in D&D on a Thursday night during the Death Star and start clicking on channels and see how many of those people are white dudes sitting at tables. How many of those channels are all white dudes sitting at tables? You are not being excluded from this space. And let's be real, this was your space before we butted in. So if you're a white guy, you're like, ah man, I can't find it, but that you're stuck in the same place as the rest of us are. Where we're all out here applying and grinding and what like I avoid this process by making my own games.
Yeah. And that's a thing I'm going to go into next. And I will also say, and this is hilarious to me, because, like Dave said, we've had multiple. One of the people from the Rivals of Waterdeep said to us, I knew I was going to get inundated with, and they did, like immediately after Waterdeep ended. Everyone hit them up. Do you want to come play this long-term game with me? And it was like, my 6-year long campaign just ended. I need a little bit of a breather. Thank you. And then they're like, it's 6 months on now, and I'm not in any games. Everyone's forgotten me. No one's inviting me to things, even though 6 years on Rivals of Waterdeep. So I get told I'm too big of a deal and too intimidating to invite to games. Me, I'm heckin' no one.
I don't know, Kay, you're very intimidating.
I've been told that several times, and I don't understand. I am 5'2".
Look, if you weren't 6 feet tall, maybe you would be less menacing. If you weren't 5'11".
Oh, Matt. No, I'm just me. But so
Look, I get intimidated inviting you to games that I'm putting on.
So, and I'm bringing this back to what I've said a couple times before now. Being a good performer is not always enough in this space. That's true on multiple levels. And one of the levels I really want to talk about is I realized I was getting invites or being accepted to games that I played to that were like one shots, but nothing long term. I was really lucky that I landed Emergency Power Podcast and met that incredible group of people. Plus 6 to intimidation. But I was like, I'm not getting the tables I want to play at. I'm not telling the stories that I want to tell, and I'm not necessarily playing with the people I want to be playing with. Like, I've enjoyed playing with these people, but I'm looking for more chemistry. I'm looking for things that I'm not necessarily getting. And so David and I wrote God Plane. You being a great performer isn't necessarily enough. If you look at the atom list, every single person there contributes something. If you really want to be getting invited to these things, if you really want a truly collaborative experience, if you really want, and let's be honest, most of us who are wanting to perform in APs are just a little narcissistic, right? We want people to, we're not just telling the story to tell it. We want to share the story with other people. We want other people to be invested in it. We want the fan art, not necessarily because it's like, oh, look at all the fan art I could, because it's like, the story I told touched someone enough that if you want that, you probably need another skill. Be that cosplay so that you can get invited to the very exclusive tables where you are expected to dress up and perform. Be it video or audio editing so that you can help produce the VODs and you can help produce the podcast. Be it art or graphic design so that you can help with advertising. be it just having the time to sit on a dying social media platform and be under the channel's account, the podcast or the AP's account, interacting with um, other TTRPG performers and groups. Maybe you're an incredible networker. This is honestly the secret to my success is I just naturally go, oh, you do this, you do something similar, meet. And then later on people go, oh, we met because of you. So therefore we want to thank you and offer you this or include you in a thing, which is like, all I did was introduce you. You did the rest. But figure out what can you bring when you're not actively on camera, because that is going to help. And I will tell you, there are a couple truly, truly, truly incredible performers who I adore and who I want to work with and highlight and tell everyone to work with them, but they don't have a social media presence. And AP, the space for sponsorship, for viewership, like AP space is very, it's not to say it's limited because it's unlimited, but the window, the ways to get eyes on your thing are very specific. And if someone does not have some sort of social media, if I've got 5 players and only 2 of them have a social media, there's 3 people that their audience is not going to come to this. They've got no way to tell people, I need not just your performance, but your audience in order to hopefully get sponsorships, in order to get more eyeballs on it, in order to sustain what we're doing. So again, and if you're an incredible podcast editor, if you are DC Lasser and you can produce this thing and you don't have a social, but you make every show run like butter and you're willing to play and do that, I don't care if you don't have a social, right? But figure out what is it that you do outside of the table that will really help you stand out and really help you get those slots and those performances. David, did you have a thought?
David has a thought. First is like, there are a lot of people in the community like me who don't necessarily like appear on camera a lot, but do a lot of work in the community. Like I spend a lot of time writing stuff. Um, and Kay and I both do like I've said multiple times. Kay has spent more time, maybe not now after like the Coral Island stream, but there was a time where Kay spent more time setting up the stream for both of us than I spent streaming, like in all of 2023. Um, Not counting talk show, but like I spent streaming by myself. Um, and there's so much like just before we got on here, Kay and I had StreamerBot cracked open, and Kay is like, "Okay, click on this thing," and I'm like, "Where is it?" And she's like, "It's right there." And I'm like, "Yeah, you said that, but where is it?" And she's like, "No, no, no, it's right there." And I'm like, "You don't understand. I'm stupid. I'm not very sharp. I am the sharpest spoon in the drawer. Please tell me." But like all of that stuff, and like if you haven't been to DC Lasser's like Tech Friday streams, go, go. Um, because like also like DC Lasser gets more into like the nuts and bolts of like the specifics when it comes to like brands and products and like the pros and cons of different things. But there's so many things that go into it, whether it be makeup, lighting, wrestling OBS, trying to get like donations synced up, contracts. Like, I haven't been able to publish stuff that that I've worked on, and we haven't been able to publish stuff that we've worked on to drive through, or what's the other one that I can't remember the name of?
Um, DM's Guild.
Yes, but like there are all these platforms, and there are tons of people where I have a folder, and like one of Kay's resolutions this year on Twitter. If you don't follow Kay on Twitter, go
Oh
follow.
no. Oh, is it me or was it you?
What do you mean?
Okay.
I hear
Sorry.
you.
Okay. I think my internet crapped for just like a half
Okay.
second. So you went, and I was like,
Hey Jason, pleased to see you. I was talking about you earlier, so your ears must have been burning. Um, but like there's a lot of stuff that will be coming out, and there are like, oh, that's what I was saying. I have an entire folder on my desktop, and Kay has an entire folder in our shared drive of RPGs and like cool stuff that we're working on and that we want to run. And there are tons of people that you will never see in front of a camera, including people we've had on and interviewed for the talk show, where the reason that they're sitting and talking with us on the talk show, the reason that we're doing this thing is because they've built cool things for the community. They've built a world, they've made an entire game system, they've built inserts for existing game systems, they've made entire modules. Like, there's all sorts of like cool, and like those people don't like play. Some of them are GMs, some of them are not, and we've invited uh, people who have production partners and writing partners and duos and whatnot, and they've said you won't see my friend on screen as a player or as a GM, but none of this happens without them. And so like, David does have a lot of folders, secret folders. Listen, Jess, anyway, the point is to be seen in the community doesn't necessarily mean you have to be on camera in everybody's face. To be known in the
Mm-hmm.
community, and to be seen as a positive, useful contributor means that there are many other skills that
Mm-hmm.
you could bring to the table.
Yes. And again, how do I get that dream spot? Well, it's actually less about your this is rough to say, but it's less about are you the best performer ever and more about what all do you bring. And I was in a I was invited to a channel and a game where I like looked at this little group and I'm like, they seem fun. The performances are fine. It was like a every other week show up and play a game. And I'm like, I can do that. I've got space in my schedule. This is meeting new people. Let's try it. And that was all they were calling for. And then we had 4 session zeros, all of which were chaotic and too long. And by the end of the third one, they were like, well, everyone is going to be a C something of everything. Everyone's going to have, and we want everyone to be super involved. So no one is just going to show up and play. And I had to be like, I'm really sorry. All I have to contribute right now is to show up and play. And I will give you all the advice that you need. Uh, and then I realized, no, we've had 4 session zeros and we're still not through to, we hadn't even picked the system yet. And I was like, you know, I just don't think I'm right for this table. You all are so like, it was also a case of I was giving, and every so often I can give good advice. Every so often I know a thing that I can share. And they were like, yeah, that's interesting, but that's not what we're doing. And I'm like, okay, not, not for me. And again, let me say this very clearly. Not all advice that is given in this space is good advice. And not all advice that is given is good advice for you. It is easier for me to say, go out and play at tables with people you don't know than it is for a Black queer woman to go out and play at tables with people she doesn't know. So
Especially if
again,
she's like in like a Dakota.
yeah, like, Baby K did not go and play TTRPGs at the local game store for multiple reasons. But also when a straight white man said, "Why didn't you just go play games at your local game store?" I'm like,
Oh, you sweet summer child, so innocent.
so again, do take different. Do take advice with a grain of salt, but also don't just hear advice, shrug, and move on. Like, ask yourself, is this good advice? And it might not be, but yeah, that's we have talked a lot and we
I,
have rambled. We've mostly stayed on topic.
not in the order that you envisioned, though.
That's fine. That's fine. When do we ever do things the easy way here?
Never, not once. But certainly back to one other point about like how you can be involved in the community and how can you be seen in spaces. And two things happened. One, I've been invited to come play games by people who've never seen me play because I am here.
Mhm.
And I have been invited to go play games because a joke that I wrote in a Christmas special landed. They're like, this 30-second was hilarious. And they're like, well, did you write that or did Kay write that? And I'm like, listen, Kay is responsible for everything good that happens here. But it still got me like invited. Um, and you know, I've had to for a lot of reasons, both personal and professional, turn down a lot of those opportunities. And I've said it before, I will say it again. I am overwhelmingly flattered that people have invited me to come play, and me saying no has never been a I don't want to play with you. I'm also lucky where everybody who's invited me, I've been like, hey, they'd be great to play with. Because there are plenty of people out there where if they broke into the stream right now and were like, David, get in here, I'd be like, how dare you speak my name? How dare you address me at all, let alone in that tone? How dare you be so familiar? How dare you show your face around here? How dare you continue to draw breath and waste the oxygen that is tirelessly produced by all of the plants around you? Like, there's some people that get some smoke. But like I said, I've been very fortunate, and I think that's one part of it that, like, in any creative endeavor, in any major industry, luck plays a role in it, and you have to kind of like hang in there. Hello, Zykram. Welcome, my dude. But you have to kind of hang in there until luck breaks your way. Um, and I've been extremely fortunate. A lot of it is really lucky because all the people I work with are great, and everybody here has a horror story of some like dickbag that they've had to like go and shout down, and I haven't had that experience. Maybe because they know that I will roast them to a cinder. But
You had the experience of almost roasting someone because of what they did to me, but
oh
that's
yeah, ooh, I still want to find them in a dark alley, but that is neither here nor there.
yes, the spice got very real.
There was a store in Columbia, South Carolina that smelled like ball sack. Listen, I'm sure that is not limited to Columbia, nor South Carolina, nor even that part of the country.
Yes. So, you know, this is the other thing is experience is good. Not every experience is worth it. Pay attention, and you know, as a few people know, as one person in particular I certainly know knows, hanging out in chat, if you, and let's be honest, well, no, this can be an issue for anyone. If you're going into a group of people who are substantially different from you, and GM straight up tells you there are no safety tools, we don't need them, we're not going to use them,
Get out, run.
like David and I gloss over safety rules for our charity games because we're like, look, this is ridiculous. However, here's the eject button, and here's how to contact either of us if things aren't okay. Here's what we expect to see. You know, there's going to be some smoke thrown about current events. And if anything gets too much, here are 3 different ways that you can pull the ripcord, and we will stop doing it. But it's also, y'all have seen them. Our one-shots are ridiculous. I don't know how. I don't want to say that. We definitely could. offend someone. I think the
Oh, yeah.
most offended anyone got in one of our games was before the game when we said, you can swear, just don't use the words you know you shouldn't. And it was like, but I love that word. It's my favorite. Said by a
Yeah.
woman. Let me be clear. But
And
yeah.
and you know, every person who shows up to a table that Kay and I run, the first thing and most important thing is, hey, you are safe here, and we will make sure that you are safe here. The end. Nothing else matters. Um, and make no mistake, I don't care if 10,000 people are watching. I don't care if millionaires are. If my players don't feel safe, if there's a problem, I will pull the ripcord. I will burn all this shit to the ground to keep my players and my fellow GM and everyone else safe.
And I would also like to point out, we were talking about like how do you get to be known and how do you get to be known? Show up in chat and retweet the people that you are hoping to perform with, that you're hoping to build a bridge with. Because, and I'm going to point to an awesome person, DC Lasser, his very last Tech Friday of the year. I think both David and I were hanging out in chat.
Yeah.
And someone was in chat and he said, I'm going to embarrass this person, but I'm going to do it. So-and-so is in chat. So-and-so retweets every time I go live. Every time. I've seen it. You don't know how much it helps. You don't know the difference it makes for me. It is seen. It is appreciated. If the only again, what do you bring to the table? If the only thing that you can do is repost and retweet, you are doing so much to help those creators because you are bringing social media's work, keeping people in bubbles. And the only way to break out of that bubble is for someone else to go, oh, my bubble would like this, and retweet it over to your bubble. So creators see it. We see, we know. Also, y'all, if you know someone else at the table is uncomfortable and you have the privilege to be big enough, known enough, confident enough, or white or male enough to be able to pull the ripcord for them, do it. I was in a charity game where one of the performers was 6 months pregnant. The one shot ran long. We were 3.5 hours in. The GM asked publicly on air, is everyone okay to stay longer? And of course, no one wants to be the bad guy to say no. So we all say, fine. The pregnant woman types into chat, hey, the baby is really upset that I've been sitting this long. It's starting to kick. And the GM didn't end the game. GM kept going. Someone had to speak up and say, I need to go. Sorry. And if you do that for someone, you will be remembered.
Yeah, like not everybody can be the loud, brash person. But if you are like me and you are the loud, brash person, that is a tool and a weapon that you could use for good or evil.
Mm-hmm.
And like anyone who is aligned good in D&D, use it for others.
Yep. I think most of y'all know, but some of you don't. I used to be a moderator for DeviantArt. I learned a lot about human nature. I learned a lot about manipulation. When you're a moderator for 15 years, you learn the language of both sides. And all I got to say is the world is really lucky that I chose chaotic good.
Look, y'all. If Kay turned evil, if Kay broke bad, and showed up to a PR firm tomorrow, all of you would think that the atrocities that Geneva specifically have laid out maybe aren't so bad, and maybe they were wrong. Kay would turn your head on a brain, like not directly, but about 10 years from now, they'd be like, you mean the Geneva suggestions? There'd be some catchy phrase that Kay would have come up with, and Kay would just be sleeping on a pile of money as the world burns down.
Okay, no one wants the K villain arc.
Remember, it's not a war crime the first time. Somebody got to see it and then label it a war crime.
So, 2. Yeah, the guidelines. So again, it's like the alignment charts. They're the rules of D&D are there to facilitate the storytelling. They shouldn't get in the way.
Right. The rules shouldn't get in the way of your
Who
goals.
hasn't war crime just a little bit in a D&D campaign?
Fair.
That was actually one of the only squares I missed in the 2023 bingo was unaliving an innocent NPC. I'm like, I killed a couple NPCs, but they deserved it or like I didn't actually do it. So missed that one. So what quick thing, quick recap, because we are over time already. How do you get into TTRPGs? Well, shoot your shot. Go on Twitter, go on Blue Sky, go into casting calls, TTRPG casting call. Just start going and start applying. If you don't have on-stream experience already, just sit down and record something. When I auditioned for Emergency Power Podcast, I didn't actually send them in my actual play clips. They had a thing to read off. They're like, send us like send us a voice clip of, you can do whatever monologue you want. Here's one we suggest. So I read off a Star Trek. Oh, you should see, David, if Leslie has my Star Trek monologue.
Ooh.
I just read that off and sent it in, and it worked. Do you need a reel? Probably not. Does it make it easier? Sure. It's really nice to be able to be like, here's examples of what I've done. Bam. If you don't know how to edit video, you don't have to do that. If all you want to do is make a whole bunch of Twitch clips. So here's the cheat to how to get around this. If you manage to get on any actual plays, charity games, whatever, charity games are a great way to start. There are always a bajillion charity games and they always need people. So just hop on any charity game. You're doing things for good. And then you find your little favorite moments, make the Twitch clips, download the Twitch clip, upload it to a YouTube playlist and be like, here's more examples. You don't have to build a website. Having a website is great. You don't have to have it. Just work on figuring out what you bring to the table, get a good performance, find the best examples of that. If your best example is you're opening up your phone and doing a TikTok of your being your character, great. That's all you need. And start applying. Go and be in the spaces where you want to play. And just, again, FaceTime, be known, be a decent person, be easy to work with. Know what you want and what you don't want in a game. And again, this is easier and safer to say. But yeah, timestamped YouTube links are also great. Absolutely. Know exactly how much of a risk you're willing to take to try and break into the space. Because again, Dave and I have said this, we say this a lot with horror games, but it is true with any TTRPG game. You are putting a piece of yourself out there. You are being vulnerable to the world. So be aware of what are you willing to put out and how vulnerable are you willing to be around a group of people that you maybe don't know very well.
And whether it be APs or just like general life advice, learn more skills, put more stuff in your head. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to edit a bunch of clips together, but there's nothing stopping you from learning it. You don't have to know how to competently write a module, but what's stopping you from learning how? And
you don't have to know how to competently write a module to run a one shot.
Yeah.
Just give yourself what you need to do to get there and then go.
Or, slap down $5 on Drive-Thru RPG or GM's Guild. And there are a lot of free ones out there that are also great. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Do that. And then also like blast the person who wrote and be like, this person does great work. Or like, dudes, you don't know how to do makeup, but you could learn.
And look, a little bit of under eye concealer and blush. It don't got to be much more than that. Just a little bit of that will change everything as to how you look on camera.
Under eye concealer and a little bit of foundation is such an enormous leap forward. And look, I know you have seen some dude without his shirt off, some dude in a Calvin Klein suit, some dude wearing
Mhm.
$4,000 worth of clothes in a magazine, on a TV show. They're all wearing makeup, every last one of them. Ain't none of them out here not wearing makeup. They all got makeup on. Don't act like your heroes wear makeup.
Mhm.
When you see the cover of a bodybuilding magazine and a dude is jacked to the gills and greased from neck to toe, that is a type of makeup. Like, get after it. Nothing's stopping you.
Okay,
Go
let's see if
learn
we can
more
get a high
stuff.
five. Okay. I don't
Actually,
think it showed
yeah.
up on camera.
Talk to your local mortician. They are great at makeup. And
Yes.
there not only are there YouTube channels, but there are probably YouTube channels from morticians. So find a
Mhm.
mortician's YouTube channel.
And again, we live in a golden age. We live in an age that Star Trek could not predict. Star Trek could not predict that we would have calculators and the internet and everything in our pockets. Star Trek had communicators. It did not have these.
They
These
did
are
have
more
tablets though.
powerful than communicators.
They did have the LCARS tablets.
They were, I'd argue they're not as powerful.
Okay. That is a debate I'm not going to get into right now.
Okay. But we live in an incredible, again, I didn't learn how to edit video in school. I just was like, I need to edit this. I'm going to go do it. Again, David is, if you want to see, again, what Matt said, David is learning on stream how to code. He is busting his butt, usually 5 days a week, programming, learning it on stream. I wanted to learn how to make websites. So this is how I'm going to date myself. I got a free page on Neopets and I hosted images on rancho.web. And I sat down with, I think it was either Bing or Ask Jeeves. I don't remember which one it was as the search engine, and taught myself HTML. I taught myself how to make GIFs. I taught myself Photoshop
How to make dice.
because I taught myself how to make dice off of YouTube, like, because I wanted to, because I was like, this is a skill that is useful. And look, some things came more easily than others. But if you're like, I really want to be able to do more, I can't afford to pay someone to do it, go figure out how difficult it is and if you can do it. And I promise you, if you have a skill and you need another skill, you can find someone, find another podcast, find another AP and exchange. Hey, I will edit your stuff if you do blank, right? Like, people will do this. DaVinci Resolve is free. I do all my editing in DaVinci Resolve. I don't use Photoshop. I don't use Premiere anymore. DaVinci Resolve is freaking awesome.
I mean, like Chaotic Wholesome Presents is the embodiment of this. Kay does 90% of the work and I take 100% of the credit. No, like, there are different things that Kay and I do. And sometimes what I do is I go, hey, Kay, did you remember to do this thing? And Kay goes, holy shit.
Yeah, thank you. You saved us. Our contract is not canceled because we did that thing now.
Right. And you know, like, Kay will get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and it'll be 3 o'clock in the morning my time and look at their phone and be like, why are you doing live edits this right now? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, listen, the work has to be done. But like, you know, and Kay will tell you, I have developed new skills to do this. And Kay has, from the ground up, developed 100 new skills. But like, because of what Kay taught me and like slapping around things, I managed to like fix a stream midstream.
All of these are dice I have made and not finished. Right. I don't have a problem.
It's not too late. You can still finish them.
I just need time. And who has that?
Who has time? I know I don't.
Time. But So yes, chat has been amazing and just absolutely popping off tonight. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your learnings in the space. Again, David and I talk a lot. We know a lot, but we don't know everything. And we also don't know what works great everywhere anymore. Yes, there's a free version of Canva. It used to be less limited. It's now more challenging. There is, I've forgotten the name of it. There is a, I'll pull it up and I will put it in the VOD. But there is a graphics editing program that I don't like it nearly as much. It's got like a one-time price that is a bit, but it frequently goes on sale. So I think you can get it for a one-time price of like $50 if you go with the right time. There are so many resources. There are so many tutorials out there. GIMP is free, but I have a really hard time with GIMP. That's me personally though. I don't like it. I know it is a graphics editing program, not what you're thinking, David.
Oh, I know what a GIMP is.
Affinity Resolve. That's the one. Affinity often goes on sale and you can get it pretty inexpensive. But and so I get if this is going to be my little bonus content here, if you decide to go the route that David and I did, which was, again, I was like, I'm not playing the games I want to play. I'm not telling the stories I want to tell. I want to start my own program. Or even if you're just like, I want to stream and I just have, if you're just streaming video games, all of these tools are there, and figuring out what you can afford with what you're bringing in, because this is the problem. I don't know if you saw, 2023 was the year so many AP channels went under. I was on a game with an AP channel that went under, so felt it personally. So much of it is either burnout or cost, and those two things are integrated. So figuring out how much you can afford based off of how many of your subscriptions are coming in, and getting that balance so you're not just constantly feeding a sinkhole is very important. Figuring out, how do you promote? All of that is a big deal. All that's very important and not a thing we can cover here. But, that's the other thing to think about, is being on all these shows costs time. It costs energy. It is a performance. So, and speaking of all of that, as a reminder, thank you so much to Cake Teas for the resub. Where is my tablet pin? There it is. Thank you so much to Cake Teas for the resub. 21 months. I would like to remind everyone that we are part of Livespace Boost. That means that from December of this past year to December at the end of this year, if you subscribe to us through Livespace, we will keep $4.65, almost $4.69 of every $4.99 subscription. Whereas, I don't know if you know this, but with Twitch, if you subscribe through Twitch, we only keep $2.50 of that $4.99. So we are multi-streaming all three places: Livespace, Twitch, and YouTube. We so appreciate you hanging out wherever you are, however you choose to support. If you do want to support, consider Stripe, because it helps, or consider Livespace, because it helps us all the more. They do use Stripe for their processing, so Livespace itself will not even see your credit card information. We also, our big goal for the year is to monetize our YouTube. For that, we need subscriptions and we need eyeballs. So if you are ever just like, Kay's voice doesn't bother me too much, just hit play on a playlist, and that would help us out incredibly. Like, subscribe, ring that bell, all that yucky stuff that I hate doing. But more than anything, thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you for sharing your experiences in chat, for making us laugh, for roasting David back. As we say, no one in this space owes us anything. And so we really appreciate that you spend your time with us. And I don't know, David says I speak for him, and I will speak for him in this moment. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out, Adam. I think we're about to wrap up. David, any closing thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just want to echo what you said of like there are a lot of people who are like, oh man, I couldn't make the stream or I couldn't do this, and it's like you show up at all. You show up in the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
You know, throw up a YouTube video. All I you what you contribute, as much or as little as you contribute, we deeply appreciate. Um, if for no other reason, then there are a bajillion other people who you could be spending your time and resources on, and you choose us, and we
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate it. It is really special to us that we do something and people show up, and people show up on a regular basis, and people want to show up. They're not just like going through the motions for their friends, because we've all had friends where it's just like, listen man, you really suck as a DJ. I'm gonna show up to the thing, but like, this is not good. And yeah, I am personally like really moved and really appreciative of um everybody who shows up to our things and everybody who contributes. And that's another thing is like we don't do this in a vacuum. There are so many people, whether it's Cato dropping a zany idea that becomes a whole thing, or even people who where we're like, oh man, what's the sound balance like? And you're like, oh, it's a little loud. All of that helps to make the channel better.
Mm-hmm.
All of that helps to make us who we are. And when you talk to each other, like in our Discord stream, or in our Discord, that's a big deal too. Like
Yeah.
forming the bonds with each other and us is all really important to us.
Yes. So thank you all so very much. And reminder, I guess it's not a reminder. If you were in one very specific channel in our Discord, you might know, but coming this Thursday, Kay
Yeah.
and Ducky play Baldur's Gate 3
Yep,
as
it's coming.
Kinley and Kessla. Hey, Chris, you are here right as we are leaving. So I think, yeah, we're gonna go raid Painting Pirate.
Yeah.
My good, I finally met him in
Wow.
the meat space.
Oh, dope.
At PAX Unplugged, so that was a treat. And yeah, thank you all so much. You are wonderful. Thank you for spending your time with us. Be kind to yourselves, be excellent to others. We will see you later.